I never imagined such a coincidence would happen, especially not when I was a kid. It's a strange twist of fate. Since elementary school, I've loved reading novels. Mr. Johnson, is it okay to borrow this many? It's fine. Borrow as much as you like. These are my books, so feel free to read them. The classroom library, where the teacher gathered books that the students wanted to read, changed its collection every week. The books were chosen based on a survey, but I was about the only one who was really into books. So it always ended up being the books I wanted to read. I felt somewhat guilty, but Mr. Johnson, our homeroom teacher, was kind and told me it was okay. Hey, why do Mr. Johnson prepare so many books for us? He wants us to become people who can save others with words, not hurt them. Words can become a dangerous weapon if used wrongly. Mr. Johnson always said that during the 2 years he was our teacher, giving us the chance to read many books. He was a mentor to me. And now, at the age of 39, I'm attending his funeral. I never thought we would part so soon. All the former students attending are shedding tears. It's a funeral that shows how much he was loved. Many classmates were also there. Isn't that Michael? You came too. Jer, of course. It feels nostalgic. We used to play a lot as kids. The person who spoke to me was a good friend from back then, and it was the first time we met since graduation. Not just him. I hadn't met any of my classmates since then, so seeing their familiar faces made me feel nostalgic. Then, I was called out in a deep voice. Hey, Michael. It's me, Tom Clark. Long time no see. His voice had changed, and I didn't recognize him at first, but as soon as I turned around and saw his face, memories came flooding back. I remembered how he embarrassed me in front of everyone and blamed his misdeeds on me. He had bullied me quite a bit. As I struggled to find words, he snorted, laughed at me, and clapped me roughly on the shoulder. Been doing well. You went to that smart middle school, so we never had a chance to meet. That was his way of being sarcastically rude. He hasn't changed in the way he has always looked down on people. Tom went to a prestigious school everyone knew, and I went to a middle school with a lower academic standard. I had taken the entrance exams because of my parents' wishes, but my academic abilities couldn't keep up, so that was the only choice I had. How were your 3 years in the middle school? Did you enjoy them? As I struggled to answer, Tom had a smug smile on his face. Just as I was wondering how to escape the situation, Kevin, who had been the class president, raised his voice. Everyone, if you're free after today, how about we hold a memorial for Mr. Johnson? Since we've all gathered, it could also be a reunion. Let's talk about him. I'm sure he'd be happy about it from up there. Everyone agreed with Kevin's suggestion, and those who could make it decided to go to a bar. I had some time after, and it had been a while since I saw everyone, so of course, I decided to go too. The only thing bothering me is Tom. I don't want to be harassed like in the old days, even now as an adult. With these worries, I changed out of my funeral clothes and joined about 15 people at a bar. Been doing okay. What have you been up to lately? I've been working hard at the factory. I just changed jobs recently. It wasn't just me meeting everyone after a long time. As we all caught up, asking about each other, it somehow became my turn. You're fine, Michael. As I opened my mouth to speak about my current life, Tom spoke first. No need to force yourself to talk about your daily life. He said it with a deliberately kind face. He doesn't know anything about my life. Michael has been struggling in life. It's sad to make a classmate you haven't seen in a long time talk about that, right? Indeed, my attire today was an old t-shirt and shorts, hastily changed from my funeral attire, so it was a bit wrinkled. With Tom's presumptuous tone and my less than pristine clothes, they probably thought I was really struggling. The other friends didn't try to ask about my current situation. Tom has always been like this. He's good at making a nice face to those with power or popularity. Plus, he's eloquent, smart, and athletic, so he's strangely persuasive. He could say anything about me, true or not, and people would believe him. As I felt a wave of sympathy from those around me, the atmosphere turned somber. Kevin, trying to be considerate, changed the topic. How have you been lately, Tom? You have a daughter, right? Jer. She just became a high schooler, and she's about to debut as a novelist. She's getting published soon. Tom's expression brightened at that, and everyone was surprised. That's amazing. What's the book called? It's a romance novel called Your Hand. She got scouted by a publisher after I posted it online. About that book. As I tried to speak about the book, Tom let out an exaggerated sigh, cutting me off. Sorry, Michael. If it sounded like bragging, I apologize. I'm just happy for my daughter. Don't worry, I'm not asking you to buy it. It'll probably be in libraries soon. I'd be happy if you read it then. Tom's comment made it seem to everyone else like I was trying to interrupt out of jealousy. Of course, I wasn't thinking anything of the sort, but that's the image that stuck. Even when paying the bill, he made sure others could hear him. Let's all go Dutch, Michael, you're fine. I'll cover for you. Next time we meet, just listen to my stories, okay? And with that, Tom added insult to injury. Everyone paid, but in the end I didn't. I had my wallet and enough money to pay. To be looked down upon and treated so miserably at this age, it's so embarrassing, it makes me want to cry. Even if I say I have money now, probably no one would believe me. After everyone dispersed and it was just the two of us, Tom dropped his pleasant facade and muttered, "Must be tough being incompetent." I was seething with anger, but I refrained from shouting. It seemed pointless, so I just walked out to the main street from the alley. Then, Tom's wife came to pick him up, and he brightened up again. I was nearby, so I came to get you. Thanks. She was a very beautiful, cheerful woman, and they looked good together. This is my wife. She's an executive secretary. You probably never get to meet someone like that. He said in a voice quiet enough for her not to hear, then walked away without looking back. In front of everyone else, he's kind and cheerful, but around me, he's just mean. I bet none of our classmates would believe that Tom, who's on the fast track to success with a beautiful wife, could say such things. Thinking about all this, I walked home alone, feeling lonely. In my apartment, where I live by myself, I read a novel. Even as I read, the events of earlier made it hard for me to immerse myself in the book, but I managed to switch my thoughts and finished reading it. Beautifully written and with a gentle worldview, the novel is a heartwarming experience once you get into it. I don't know how many times I've been saved by novels like this. Before the emotions it stirred in me could fade, I put the book back on my shelf. Then, as usual, I sat in front of my computer and summarized my thoughts on the novel I just read. The next day, I read another novel and summarize my thoughts on that too. This was my daily routine. Then, on the weekend, I was invited to a party and attended it in a suit. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now starting the book launch party for Your Hand by Emma Clark. Sitting among the guests in the large venue filled with publishing professionals, I listened to the announcement. Next, we'll hear from Mr. Smith. As the people involved in the project took turns giving their speeches, my name was called and I went up to the stage. I'm Michael. I had the honor of writing the endnote critique and the cover comment for Your Hand. First, I want to thank editor Bob for this opportunity. As I nodded to Bob, I looked out over the audience and saw Tom's face. He looked shocked, his eyes wide and his expression incredulous. The first thing I felt when reading Your Hand was the freshness of the writing. It's something I, as an author of over 20 years, couldn't possibly express. While I did feel parts were still immature, there's a certain expression only possible due to that immaturity. It's something that will change as you grow, so please fully express what can only be enjoyed now. It's a weapon that can capture the hearts of young people, as it's true to your age. Thank you. Emma whispered, her eyes brimming with tears. I hadn't known they were father and daughter until Tom mentioned it yesterday, but the editor had told me she was an ardent fan of my novels. She started writing after reading my books. It was gratifying to know a young person enjoyed my work, and that's why I accepted the task of writing the end note and cover comment. I continued my speech. I'd like to share a bit about myself. As a kid, I loved the library my teacher, Mr. Johnson, set up. Every week, it was filled with new books. Back then, I was bullied by classmates and it was tough, but I had to go to school to read those books, so I did. I realized just recently at Mr. Johnson's funeral that he might have known about my situation and deliberately stocked my favorite books. Tom's face grew increasingly pale and he started trembling, looking down. It probably terrified of being exposed for his past actions. Dad, thank you, his daughter said, oblivious to his inner turmoil. The situation was bizarre. I wasn't the best student, but thanks to reading a lot in elementary and middle school, I won a newcomer award in my sophomore year of high school and debuted as a novelist. After debuting, I struggled with writer's block and clashed with my editor, who wanted media exposure while I preferred to remain anonymous. Despite everything, I believed that novels don't betray you and have continued writing. And one more thing, Emma is still young and beautiful, so the media will want to showcase your looks. But I believe a novelist should be famous for their words, not their face. Be a novelist whose work is recognizable from the first sentence. After finishing my speech, the room filled with applause as I bowed. As I stepped down from the stage, various people complimented my speech. What a fantastic speech. If Mr. Smith writes the cover comment, it's bound to be a bestseller. Then Emma came to greet me. Mr. Smith, thank you so much for your speech. Not at all. I've read all your books. I've admired you since I was a child, so getting your comment is like a dream come true. Your novels have saved me so many times. She seemed nervous, but earnestly conveyed her feelings. Then, Tom, her father, approached, looking around cautiously. Can we talk for a minute? I took him to a corner of the venue, away from his daughter's hearing. Could you pretend the things I've done never happened? Tom's polite tone was eerie. What things are you talking about? I knew what he was trying to say, but I wanted to hear it from Tom's own mouth. The things I've done to you all this time. I don't want to ruin my daughter's life because of my actions. Tom said this with a trembling voice, looking smaller than I had ever seen him. If that's what you think, then don't turn words into weapons. I wasn't ready to forgive him yet. Please, don't reveal what happened in the past, please. I had no intention of revealing it. Words are meant to save people, but I want an apology from you, Tom. That would be saving me with words. His daughter, still not quite understanding the situation, was watching us from a distance. Tom straightened his back and bowed deeply to me. I'm truly sorry. Hearing those words, my heart settled a little. Listen, Tom, I can easily pay for a meal. I get a good amount in royalties, and I have quite a few jobs like giving critiques. Of course, I know. Emma loves your books. We have many at home, and I've read a few myself. I never imagined that Michael was you, Mr. Smith. You've been saving many people with your words. In the interview earlier, I remembered our teacher, Mr. Johnson. He knew I had a darker side and talked to me a few times. I couldn't reflect on it then, but now, even at this age, I realize how I turned words into madness. I've finally come to regret it. It's all come back to me. Good. Change your heart. For your daughter's sake too. I felt relieved seeing Tom deeply nod, truly repentant. After that, Emma's novel gained support from middle and high school students. It didn't become a bestseller, but it sold well. She remained a fan of mine, often mentioning me as her favorite author in interviews and on social media. Perhaps because of that, we decided to write a short story collection together. My dream has come true. She was genuinely happy at the meeting. I was truly saved by her words and managed to get this far, to be able to publish a book with you. It's unbelievable. My dad will be happy about this too. Tom is happy. My father has recently become a fan of your work, and he also checks out your serials, and we often exchange our thoughts on them. Tom doing that. It was a profound and strangely surreal feeling. It may be presumptuous of me, but maybe I've also saved Tom with words. Today, over a cup of tea, I'm still writing.